Hello, Metaverse. This is AJ, Resident Raccoon, and I'm joined here with Starwind. We're going to look at some of the gaming news here today on May 24th. And there has been this Final Fantasy
Rumor
PS5 exclusive, rumor / leak that's going around. You know, I'm not super, Final Fantasy head. I haven't played most of them, so I'm gonna let Starwind here kind of talk us through this one, and then I'll give my reactions to kind of what he says. So go through this right now for us.
Okay, so one thing that's been confusing me about all of these articles is that the game is rumored to be called Final Fantasy Origins, which, if you know anything about Final Fantasy Origins, is a remake of the first and second game that was released, I think, during like the 6th or 5th gen. So This would be Final Fantasy 1 and 2 in the style very similar to Final Fantasy 7 Remake. But a lot of the articles are also saying, and the leaker said that it's supposed to play like Star Wars Fallen Order, which is one of those 3D action-based games, which I can see that Square Enix is kind of moving in that direction. Like they're trying to just use the hardware to its fullest capacity, which there's nothing wrong with that. And, I'm just very interested as to how they're going to put 2 whole games into one, because if they're remaking both of these games, I don't understand how they'd even do that. They couldn't put all of Final Fantasy 7 on one disc, so this is going to be very, very interesting.
I didn't know that game was 2 discs.
Final Fantasy, that's what I'm saying, and it's not even the full game.
Yeah, it's only the
first part. So to get all of Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2 in one game is going to be pretty interesting. I also don't understand how they're going to tie them together. They're going to change lore or something.
And they have 16 and R2 remake in the works. So there's a lot of shit going on with Square Enix.
And they're also doing another Dragon Quest. They have that Project Athena game coming out.
Yep.
And they're remaking one of their older IPs.
Now, I read somewhere, I forgot where I read it. It might have been Twitter. But on Twitter, I saw that Team Ninja might be helping with this. Yes,
so it's actually Team Ninja that's developing. That's why everyone thinks it's going to be more like Fallen Order. Like, you can't really use magic in Neo the same way that you would in Final Fantasy. So to have it play a little bit similar to Fallen Order, where like you use the force powers and shit, kind of makes sense. Like if he just puts up his hand and like a fireball comes out, or like he's summoning icicles from the like above you and shit like that. I can see it working, but it can't play like Neo.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I guess because I'm not, so avid in Final Fantasy. Like I don't mind it. Do you mind it?
Yes and no. But at the same time, it's not like these games are still accessible to me. So like I can play Final Fantasy 1 and 2 if I really wanted to. But do I really want Final Fantasy 1 and 2 to have like a Persona styled remake just to like again just go through menus? I understand what Square Enix is doing. They've seen how much fame and critical acclaim they've gotten with games like fucking Final Fantasy 7 Remake and Kingdom Hearts and things like that. So they're definitely moving into that 3D realm. And then at the same time, they're still giving me games like Octopath Traveler and the new one that's coming out, the Triangle Square game on Nintendo consoles, which it's actually better for consumers because those games take so much time. So to be able to play that game on like the Switch, it makes so much sense. Like I'm buying SMT3 on the Switch just because I don't want to be sitting in front of my TV for fucking God knows how long playing that game.
Yeah. And then I also feel like the success of remakes in general in the last few years definitely pushes a lot of people now to make more remakes.
Square Enix has been doing remakes for fucking God. Like, so Final Fantasy 1 and 2, I think they've been remade twice already. There's the Dawn of Souls version and then there's the Origins version. And those games first came out, I think, on the Super Nintendo. Then they got remade for the PlayStation. And they got made on the Game Boy Advance. Like Square Enix, they've been doing this for a while. There's nothing new to them.
Well, like I think it sounds interesting. I feel like Final Fantasy recently, they've tried a lot of new things. Like Final Fantasy 14 is super online based, and that's an MMORPG if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, which is in the same vein of Final Fantasy 11, which was on the
Yeah.
PS2, which was also a MMO.
And then, you know, FF15 is where they started to really change up the how they did action. Well, Lightning Returns was a little bit like 15, wasn't it?
Yes and no. So 13 Lightning Returns has like an action bar, and you do certain actions, so you have to like wait for it to build up, which is very similar to 7 Remake, where you have to like wait for the bar to go up, but you can't do like auto attacks. Like all your attacks are based on the bar.
Okay. But yeah, I see they're trying new things. You know, like it doesn't hurt, I guess, to try new things. They're not doing it with 16, and they're not doing it with Remake Part 2. I guess they're trying, like you said, to remake something and then try to make it different to see how it attracts. Maybe attracts a new audience. Maybe
isn't 16 a action game? It's supposed to be very similar to 15, but from my understanding or anything that I've seen in the trailer, you're only playing as one character.
It's not Souls-like though.
No.
Yeah, Souls-like is a much different category than what 15 and Remake is. Like that's a whole different ball game. I mean, people are trying to experiment with the Souls formula. Returnal did, you know. Returnal made a roguelike out of the Souls formula. And then you know, like devs like Sega with Yakuza, they tried a new form for Yakuza with the Turnbase. Turnbase clearly isn't dead because Like a Dragon, it did so well.
Yep.
And people
and they're
love
sticking
that game.
with it.
Yeah. So Turnbase definitely isn't dead. I mean, Pokemon still does Turnbase. You know? So I don't think it's a sense of Turnbase is dead. And Persona is so fucking popular.
Yes.
You know, with 5. I just think they just want to try new things. Square Enix seems like they're trying to branch out and capture different audiences.
The way that I'm looking at it is that Square Enix wants to test the limits of what hardware can do. So they know that they can push it to a certain limit, but they really want you to believe in these magical worlds that they're creating. Like they want you to be in awe at the fucking graphics. Like
which is what FF7 does. Yeah. FF7 half the time I'm playing, I'm like, fuck.
It's beautiful.
This is gorgeous.
And you wouldn't be able to capture that same sense if it was turn-based because the camera's usually locked and everything.
Mm-hmm. And which is crazy because FF7 is still super linear. That game is not really open world.
Yep.
And the only time it opens up is towards the end when you can now go between the different sectors. But even then, you can't even return. You know, Sector 7's already fucking destroyed. Yeah. So it's not like you could ever return back to that. But it's not open world, and people are confused on that. But kind of to cap off things here, fucking Biomutant drops tomorrow, and it's not getting any good reviews at all.
No,
it's
not
getting
at all
shitted on, and one of the biggest things it's getting shitted on for is the native 4K shit. So it's not 4K on PS5, but it is 4K on Xbox. I wanted to more talk about that because Sony seems to have an issue with upscaling PS4 games unless there's a patch for it. As to where the Xbox already does it automatically as soon as you put any game in there. It even upscales original Xbox games. And I think it's a little weird. What do you think?
So, considering how long Xbox or Microsoft rather, has been doing this like whole backwards compatibility thing with like the Xbox One and being able to play the 360 games on the One, it seems like they're just so much more comfortable with this technology and they're pushing for it harder, as to where Sony was so against it for so long that now they're having to play catch up and now it's screwing them over. I think that's all. Like, Sony is definitely capable of doing this if they had the time that Microsoft had to do it.
Yeah.
So this just goes back to all our conversations about game preservation, where now it's screwing over Sony.
But also, Xbox, all of their discs are the same, are they not? So, like, the reader in them. Like, I know Sony had different types of discs that they were using and readers, between 1, 2, and 3. So like 3 was like Blu-ray, and 2 was different for a while. 2 also had those blue discs. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah.
So it's a lot harder for them to translate a lot of that. And I remember when they made the smaller PS3, they couldn't fit in the extra reader for the PS2 games. That's why it wasn't backwards compatible. They only had the Blu-ray reader.
Yes.
This is it goes to what you said, and then it goes into like Sony kind of not preparing for this, right? Because Sony, as we mentioned before on one of our podcasts, does not believe in game preservation.
Tim Ryan doesn't believe in game preservation.
But everyone at Xbox seems to. And they're doing really well because of it, especially with Game Pass.
Yeah.
But Biomutant, people don't like it. Some people saying they're going to buy it anyways. People saying that the 4K stuff doesn't really bother them. That's kind of stupid because it bothered them when Returnal was coming out.
Yeah.
But fucking everybody wants to find a reason to complain about Returnal. But people are going to buy Biomutant anyways, even though no one even knows what the fuck Biomutant is.
This game has been in development hell for fucking so many years. I'm amazed it actually dropped. I thought this game has released like 4 times already.
I did too. I didn't even know this shit was coming out tomorrow to begin with until I saw it on Twitter. It's a team of 20 people apparently. So it kind of makes sense, but I think they tried to go too big with the world. And apparently it just feels clunky and it feels too filled with a lot of lackluster feeling behind it, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like you get so much substance, but you don't care about the substance. That's kind of like what it is.
Extra nonsense for no reason.
Like a Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game, you know? There's like side content up the fucking ass, but you just don't give a fuck. But yeah. That's the gaming news for today. The biggest one obviously being Final Fantasy here. I'm excited to see what it would look like and play like, and if it's really rumored to be revealed at E3 this year, that's in 2 weeks, which open registration opens up next week for regular people who are not content creators and stuff like that and influencers. You guys can now sign up next week to join their app. It's free. It's completely free. And you can kind of like see some of the stuff that's happening on the showcase.
Is the whole event going to be through the app?
No, so they think the event itself is happening through Twitch and YouTube, but and their website. But for some of the interviews and shit like that, so like the post-event stuff,
you'd have to go through the app, and you have access to the booths, right?
Yes. So a lot of the time what happens is E3 opens up with the showcases, and then E3 itself is actually a week of people testing the games out, talking to the devs and interviewing them and dissecting some of the stuff that they revealed, and then through the week they usually reveal more stuff about the game. So that's where you get that on the app, as opposed to the reveals and stuff will be on YouTube and Twitch itself. That's how it's going to be operating. But it's free, so it's not that bad. It's just a little tedious, but you know, COVID. So, all right, guys, that's going to be it for today. We'll catch you guys on the next video or the next podcast, whichever one you want to click on next. It's up to you, man. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you always know when we're uploading, because we're going to be uploading every day now, at least one video. All right, peace out. Have a good day.
Peace.